When one of the pound for pound best in the world, like Canelo, get defeated, we have to stop and look exactly what happened, because very often things that made the fight equal a loss for them can help us avoid our own losses in the future. Now, Canelo has not taken a loss since he fought Floyd Mayweather, and now his loss against Bivol will be his second. So let's roll the intro, and when we get back, we will be looking at exactly what happened in Canelo versus Bivol. One of the first things that I want to do before we actually get into breaking down the fight is look at a recent post put out by one of the boxing greats, probably one of the best boxers in the female divisions. And she gives Canelo credit, saying when you reach for greatness, when you go up in weight class, when you challenge yourself, unlike most people are challenging themselves, you're going to have stumbles, and people should just stop criticizing and just be impressed by him. And that is my thought as well. Canelo has done an amazing job of moving up through the weight classes throughout the years, and ultimately like a decade, just taking on bigger and bigger fighters. Now at 175 in Bivol, we see him reach somebody who's just so strong, so much physical advantage over him, and that has to be taken into consideration, which we definitely will in this breakdown. So let's start off and let's look at the opening of the fight. Canelo, in my opinion, uncharacteristically comes out pretty hard in the early stages of the fight, firing big shots in, and he's a little bit more power heavy, and I'm wondering if this was sort of a strategy to let Bivol know that he could bring knockout power, and maybe Canelo thought it would sway the fight in his favor, or at least get some respect from Bivol. But as soon as I saw Canelo come out swinging and I saw the way that Bivol was responding to the punches, I went, you know what? I think this guy has felt this type of power, if not more, before, and he doesn't look concerned at all by it. He looks very comfortable taking those Canelo shots, even though Canelo's ripping in big punches. So within the first round, I was already going, ooh, uh-oh, Canelo is not going to have that same advantage, which he normally has. The next thing we see by Bivol is a really tight guard. He just does a fantastic job of just holding his hands right up to his head, using his forearms to block punches, and he just minimizes all the shots that land just by staying here. He's not worried about a lot of head movement. Maybe he knows that he'll be able to take that power very quickly once Canelo comes out firing. But more importantly, I think this is just his style. He's a very basic fighter. It's amazing at the basics, and just having that tight guard up shows you how good a tight guard can be, even against somebody as amazing as Canelo. Now, something that I like that we see Bivol do is he makes sure he's fighting at a distance. For him, being the taller fighter, being the stronger fighter, you might go, well, taller fighter, length is good, but stronger fighter, he's going to want to be in close. But he doesn't bother stepping in and banging away with Canelo in the pocket. He does a great job at maintaining distance. When you're maintaining distance as the bigger, longer fighter, you're just putting yourself at that advantage. And maybe even though he hits harder than Canelo, or he's used to taking shots harder than Canelo throws, why bother staying in the pocket when you can maintain that nice distance? That was an early move and a smart move, which sort of led me to the path that, ooh, this is going to be a tough fight for Canelo. Now, in previous fights, we've seen Canelo work a very nice tight guard, just everything crushed in. But the part of his defense, to me, that is the most impressive is his ability to get moving, roll with shots, and fire back. To me, that's when I go, whoa, he's so dangerous. And we didn't see him do that as much in this fight. Instead, we see him utilize the tight guard, just as Bivol is doing quite frequently, but Bivol's jab is very effective. And it looks like it even gives Canelo a little bit of issues through that tight guard, and it just breaks up the rhythm and does not allow Canelo to move in fluidly and get those tight body shots, which he's so well known for, off. Of course, always easier said than done, looking at a fight after as opposed to actually being in it. And again, no criticism to Canelo because he's moving up in weight class fighting the best in the world. This guy's undefeated. But strategy-wise, Perhaps it would have been better for Canelo not to fight at that distance where he's getting touched with the jab, to take that extra step back and to lower his hands, focus more on that head movement and those counters, and then to really work getting inside and ripping in those shots. But again, easier said than done, because Bivol has a fantastic strategy and is maintaining distance, as we already mentioned. Now, since we're talking about closing distance for Canelo, something that Bivol does very nicely in this fight is keeping his back off the ring ropes. It's very rare to see him back up, touch, and pause when he has nowhere to move backwards. He's making sure that he's able to throw the punches that he wants, throw that jab, which we talked about, throw those combinations fast, sharp, and then get back and exit. And a very good strategy to avoid having to fight in the pocket, which he just doesn't seem to want to do. Now, I love this point in the fight where we see Canelo edging Bivol on. Come to me, come to me. Canelo takes a couple shots and he just goes, fine, I'm going to stand here and you have to come and fight me. And this just shows the intelligence of Bivol, just stepping back going, no, you know what? I'm in here, you can come to me, and we're doing this fight on my terms. He's not fighting emotionally. He's making sure that whatever their game plan was, whatever the strategy was, he is sticking to it and not being lured in by any drama. Because generally when somebody calls you to them or they want you to do something, they have an idea of what's going to happen in the near future. They have planning something, whether it's just they got tagged and they're emotional and they're going to want to fire back hard. Either way, if they have some idea of what's coming up in the future, don't play their game. Just do the exact opposite, like we see Bivol do in this fight. And something else I want to mention, which my brother actually said to me the other day, is this guy is like a boxing robot. He does not have a lot of emotion in the ring. And I absolutely love this. Actually, some of the fighters which I look up to the most as I was climbing the ranks were the K1 guys who put out zero emotion. When they got clipped, they would just guard back up and then go back to fighting. When the other guy got emotional, they wouldn't respond. I love these fighters. I feel like they are fully in control and are more dangerous because of it. Now, it's very rare to see Canelo take big shots. Shots where he starts going, ooh, ooh, that was a good one. And when Bivol steps forward and starts landing, and he bam, 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 he doesn't stay there and let the combo turn into a flurry where back and forth the guys are exchanging. No, he throws, he steps back, and he goes back to his safe point. Again, going back to that boxing robot, no emotion, fighting smart. Very, very good tactics from him. And the only other person that we've seen defeat Canelo is Floyd Mayweather, who is an amazing tactician as well. So maybe going forward for opponents of Canelo, going emotional fighting is definitely not the key against this guy. And the last thing I want to comment on is the beautiful counters, which we saw from Bivol as the fight went on. Early on, he was just, stopping Canelo with that jab, utilizing it, and that was fantastic. Then he started throwing like a few little combos, landing nicely, but as we get further, we see some mean counters, and it's something we don't see a lot of people do to Canelo, because in my opinion, he is one of the best counter fighters out there. So as we started to see Bivol open up, I went, whoa, this guy is exceptional, very dangerous, but keep in mind that size is a factor. And I remember at one point, I don't know if I'll be able to find the clip, but at one point Canelo comes forward and Bivol just stops him with a jab in his tracks. Not like he hits it out, he just boom, puts a pull out and stops Canelo. And remember that size is a factor. You guys have heard me talk about the size advantages and my thoughts on that with guys in the UFC who cut lots of weight. But now imagine people like Conor McGregor who say they're just going to move up a weight class and move up a weight class. And then we start to see them lose. And they lose some more. And they lose some more. And we're going, well, in my opinion, it's not Conor's skills or McGregor skills that have gone down, but it is just the fact that he is now fighting bigger people. And if you get somebody like Canelo who keeps moving up and moving up and moving up, and he keeps challenging himself, eventually he's going to take a loss. His loss to Mayweather was simply he was not experienced enough, possibly did not have the skill level yet to face the pound for pound best in the world. And in this one, Bivol no doubt is amazing, but size plays a factor. Do not doubt that, and make sure for your own fights that you are not giving up 10, 15 pounds in weight, because you don't need somebody to be as good as you to lose. They can be not as great. They can have lesser skill level. You can be better in pretty much every possible way. But if it's close, if it's like this, then that's fine. When I first started fighting, I was probably 10 pounds less than all the guys, but it didn't matter because my skill level was so much higher than people. But now as we start going higher and higher and the opponents start getting closer to our skill level, then size plays that much more of a factor. I believe that's one of the main reasons that we saw Canelo take the loss. But that takes nothing away from Bivol. Amazing performance by him, and I'm looking forward to seeing his next fight, especially if it's a rematch against Canelo, which very well might happen. So I hope everybody enjoyed this breakdown of Canelo versus Bivol. Fantastic technical fight from both athletes, and I'm looking forward to seeing both of them back in the ring sometime soon. And if you enjoyed today's episode, please give the video a like. If you haven't already, join the channel, get subscribed. As always, guys, train hard, and I'll see you back here soon for another video.